take a look at how an intermediate user might work on this problem. Now note that the beginner user's code worked. It solved part of the problem. Maybe there was some small details of it. For example, if there's more than just the bar portion and the table portion of the order, we have to change the code in two places, both in that count enum, but also in the body of that split bill. But for the most part, it worked, and we could write a test around it. Well, an intermediate programmer might be a little bit more willing to take that code and to think more deeply about the consequences of the modeling. They may be willing to interrogate how we set up the structure of the problem in order to solve it. And so our intermediate user is going to change this code very slightly. Instead of passing in the bill and the guests as two different data structures where the bill is split up into the two parts of the bill and the guests are just a list of those guests a dictionary of those guests mapped to whether they showed up early or late, the intermediate user is going to say, you know what? This early, late, and its relationship to whether you pay the bar bill or the table bill seems to be unnecessary additional detail that adds complexity to my code. Instead, why don't I do this? I'll ignore the early, late completely, and I'll just pass in as my data the guest and the portions of the bill that they were there for. Thus, if I want to extend this program to add in some extra section, well, I don't need to worry about taking that early, late, and then splitting that into an early, even earlier, late, stayed for drinks at the very end, slept in the bus station instead of going home, whatever the case may be. I don't have to add that extra extension. I can keep the modeling of this program a little bit simpler. However, an intermediate user might oftentimes find that really simplify that modeling is still quite challenging. And in fact, in this case, I would say this does simplify the modeling slightly. We no longer have that early-late distinction. Instead, we more directly indicate Alice was there for the bar bill and the table bill. Bob was there for the bar bill and the table bill. Charlie was there only for the table bill. This modeling is maybe a little bit richer because we can see Alice ordered 2 drinks, I think, for $12 and maybe some pretzels for $3. And Charlie ordered an entree and probably a dessert, or maybe for $2.35, maybe a cup of decaf tea. You know, it's very late at night and that caffeine keeps him up. And so we can even answer questions like what was the average amount at the table bill, what was the average amount at the bar bill. But whatever the case may be, we have simplified this modeling slightly. However, this input data structure is actually quite complex. One thing that I often see in intermediate users' code is that there's maybe more of a willingness to tolerate assumptions that a user will be willing to use a code in a certain way. And so, for example, here I have some complex data structure, and I'm going to ask you to pass in exactly this data structure in exactly this fashion. A dictionary of strings that map to dictionaries of some entities mapping to lists. And it may be even larger of a structure. Those of you who have used JavaScript projects know what I'm talking about. It's very common for JavaScript libraries to require as their inputs very complicated nested structures of arrays and objects, and to say, okay, if you pass it in slightly differently, maybe I'll accept it. Maybe if you pass in just a list here or an array here, I'll be fine with it. But if it's an array of maps, I'll be fine with that as well, or whatever the case may be. It can be somewhat difficult to understand what it is I need to pass in and to get that exactly right. And hopefully, if that code was written right, to understand, oh, I passed it in, but it interpreted it differently than how I thought, or I interpreted it erroneously, or didn't pick up the thing that I wanted. And so this kind of structuring, which is in one way a little bit simpler and another way a little bit more complex, is very typical, I think, of intermediate code. Note that an advantage of this is our logic for computing, who should pay for what, is now simpler and now is more likely to be correct. And note one other very nice detail of this code. The beginner's code had enums to represent early and late, which this code doesn't have at all. The beginner's code had enums to represent the different parts of the account. So in the point of sale system, there's the bar bill, there's the table bill. You close out the bar bill when you get seated at your table. We could extend this further. There's maybe also the after dinner drinks portion. They go to a bar afterwards. There is the, we're in the bus station about to catch our bus home. Let's grab, some water just so that we can make it home without passing out. Whatever the case may be, we can extend this arbitrarily. But do note that the split bill does not care about this. One mark of increasing quality, I think, of code is where it reduces the assumptions that it has on the end user to use this code in a particular way. And it provides additional mechanisms, but those mechanisms are often optional, those mechanisms are used to help you, but not to constrain you. And so note here, we do not have to use this account enum. We can pass in any arbitrary hashable object, which is a much weaker assumption that the sections of the bill are just some hashable object, that they have to exactly be this account entity. Here, if you just pass these in as strings, the code works fine, and it passes you back out just whatever you passed in mapped to an integer. And so here, we don't even need to assume that the guests are anything but a hashable object either. So the guests could be strings, the guests could be enums, they could be rich objects. That hashability requirement may be something that's a little bit tricky for us to deal with. And in fact, for the nature of this problem, it may actually be quite difficult for us to melt that assumption away without significantly interrogating the modeling. But to a large degree, this code, I think, improves, at least in the sense of not requiring you to import one more thing in order to use this, or making assumptions of saying, okay, you read through all the documentation, you're going to use it in precisely this one way, and I'm guaranteed that you're willing to accept the complexity that I've put upon you in order to use this code. Now, an intermediate user might make use of something like hypothesis to improve their coverage of which parts of the input domain they're actually testing. And so here, in this hypothesis test, we're going to build the structure, that dictionary of dictionaries. We're going to assume, you know what, I don't actually care whether the guests are strings, whether they're enums. I don't care whether the sections of the bill are strings or enums. I don't care about any of that. Here, I'll just make these arbitrary Python objects, opaque Python objects. I'll compute what the payments would be. I'll make sure that the restaurant got every cent that they were owed. And I'll make sure that every guest shows up in the payments. Now, in order to improve this test, however, the intermediate user might say, you know what, I also want to make sure that the motivating example for this, that is that Charlie showed up late and shouldn't pay for the bar bill, is a guarantee that I have. If you don't show up for the bar portion of the meal, you don't have to pay for that. But it may be very difficult for them to phrase this in the code. And so instead, they might do something like this. They'll compute the total bill by each section of the bill. They'll compute which guest is in each section. And they might have a much weaker constraint where they say, you know what, just make sure that no guests pay more than the total that they would pay across all the sections they were present for. And so this at least makes sure that Charlie isn't given the entirety of the bill, but it doesn't quite make sure that Charlie only pays the portions of the bill that Charlie was present for. Note that that might be very difficult for us to phrase with this particular modeling, and an intermediate user may not be willing to really dismantle the modeling that they were given to the point where that might be something that is testable. But there's something else that is not quite right about this test. And that is, this loop here in the test looks very, very similar to this loop here that's in the code. And any case where we see a lot of similarity or even duplication between code in our test and code in the actual thing that's under test is an indication that we may be writing the test in terms of the thing that we're testing. The test may be recapitulating the logic of the function itself. That is to say, if we're so certain that this logic is right such that we put it in the test, then why are we testing that part of the function in the first place? And is there anything else in the function that really is interesting to test? You can see that we're assuming something to be correct that we should actually be testing. It is a very, very bad sign anytime you see that your test is just recapitulating the logic of the underlying function. And this is something that we want to strenuously avoid in our tests. And so, in truth, I don't really think that this adds that much to the test. I think we really need to interrogate the modeling further to be able to reveal properties of this code that we can better test without recapitulating the actual function under test itself.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, hit subscribe, and check out the recommended video on the screen. See you in the next one.